Okay, and I'm going to go back and start recording the meeting. Okay, I think we're set to go. Are you ready for me to read this?
Please go ahead.
Okay.
Under Susan Chandler.
Oh, good. Hi, Susan.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine. Thank you. And you?
You. Good. Good.
I'll need to leave the meeting a little early today, Susan. Apologies.
All righty. I hope it's because you're eating Christmas cookies or something.
Okay.
All right. We have something that I'd like to read before the meeting. It just sort of sets the stage for anybody who might be listening. So here we go. Welcome to the December 17th, 2020 meeting of the Arts and Culture Commission. This meeting is being held electronically to comply with the governor's Stay Safe Minnesota order and to ensure the safety of all residents and staff. All members of the Arts and Culture Commission and staff are participating from their homes or offices. For members of the commission, please remember to mute your mic when you're not speaking and raise your hand if you'd like to speak. I'm fine if you don't raise your hand at this point. We ask that you do not use the chat function in WebEx as we meet. We will also have roll call votes for each motion this evening, as we have been doing, as well as for adjournment. I will repeat the motion and record the motion and seconder in the recordings. We have a full-fledged agenda, so here we go. Before we begin, a few things to cover for those listening in or watching online. The public has two ways to view the meeting tonight. They can watch the live stream on the city's YouTube channel or listen via phone using the WebEx call number. There is no community comment section during the meeting tonight. The meeting is committed to hearing and receiving input on matters. The public can send comments to the City Council or to the Arts and Culture Commission through the Council Correspondence web on our website. The recording of the meeting will also be available to watch on the city's website tomorrow. Go to Watch a Meeting link under the I Want To tab on the homepage. Thanks in advance for your patience as we work through this meeting online. I think everything has worked today using different software types and people participating from all sorts of places. Be assured we'll do our best to continue the meeting if there are any issues. Thank you very much for your interest and for tuning in. And Russ, I think we can call the meeting to order.
Oops.
There you go. Gotcha, Russ.
Okay, so if everybody would, if you would do the roll call, we'll see who's present.
All right. Commissioner Chandler.
Present.
Commissioner DiLorenzo.
Here.
Hi, Becca, haven't seen your name pop yet. Thank you. Hi, Commissioner Isaacs.
Here.
Commissioner Klein. Hannah, we know you're there. Did you get muted?
Unmute Hannah and say aye. There you go.
Hi. Got it.
All right. Commissioner Kankamala.
Here.
We have, are you here, Shreya? Hi.
Hi.
Commissioner Martin. Not yet. Commissioner Nelson sends regrets tonight. Commissioner Piala.
Here.
Thanks, Lauren. Commissioner Rubin.
Here?
Thanks. Commissioner Shen. Is Tiffany here yet? Doesn't look like it. Commissioner Sorensen.
Here.
There she is. Commissioner Suko.
Here.
Sorry, Lindsay, I confused your last name with your first name, with Rebecca's first name. Sorry about that. Thank you. That is the roll.
Very good. Thank you, Susan. We need to now approve our meeting agenda for tonight. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda? Not all at once.
I motion to approve the agenda.
Rebecca, is that you?
Yes.
Yes.
Second.
Thank you.
Second
And that was
was
Susan.
Susan Chan or Hannah?
Nope.
Okay,
Who was the
Hannah.
second, please?
Hannah Klein, Commissioner
Thank
Klein.
you. Got it.
Okay. Any additional comments for retorts? Hearing none. You need to do a roll call
Yep.
on the
Commissioner
vote, please.
Chandler,
Aye.
thank you. Commissioner DiLorenzo,
Aye.
Commissioner Isaacs,
Heather?
Heather, are you muted? Yep, let me catch you. Okay, Heather? Thank you. Commissioner Klein?
Yep.
Commissioner Conkamala?
Aye.
Commissioner Martin?
Not present.
Commissioner Piella?
Aye.
Commissioner Rubin?
Aye.
Commissioner Shen? Commissioner
Not present.
Sorensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Suko? Great, thank you all.
Very good. The agenda is accepted. Now let's turn to the meeting minutes from our meeting of November the 19th. I hope you've all had a chance to look through them. Are there any comments, questions, corrections that anybody would like to see in the minutes from last month? Nope. Good. Okay, thank you. Okay. Can we have a motion to accept the minutes?
Chandler, aye.
Good? Commissioner Chandler, that was a motion,
I'll second.
and that was,
Lindsay?
thank you.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Chandler,
Aye.
let's see. Looks like Commissioner, Susan, did you just drop off by a second?
No, I'm here trying to
Oh, there
say
you go.
aye to the
All
minutes.
right, got it. Thank you. Commissioner DiLorenzo,
Aye.
you went to get those cookies early. Commissioner Isaacs,
Aye.
Commissioner Klein,
Aye.
Commissioner Conkamala,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin, not here. Commissioner Morgan Nelson, not here. Commissioner Piella.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Rubin,
Aye.
Commissioner Shen, not present. Commissioner Sorensen,
Aye.
and Commissioner Suko.
Aye.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Okay, the minutes of last November 19th are accepted. Thank you all. Now it's time to turn to the reports and recommendations. Before we do that, I'd just like, on behalf of the commission, express our condolences to Susan for the loss of her dad. It's
Thank you.
a difficult time. Made worse by a difficult time, made worse by a difficult time. So it's exponential, and our hearts go out to you and your family.
Thank you. And I must say, I really appreciate all of you. I've been lucky to have members of the commission to work with, like all of you, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being who you are.
Thanks.
Okay, now let's turn to the work at hand. The 2021 work plan is our first point. It was presented to the council in early December as part of a consent vote. Understand that it was accepted as presented. And so we do have our work plan in order for next year.
So
Susan,
Russ,
is there anything you want to add to that,
Yep.
please?
Russ, we actually have MJ with us. MJ was going to walk through kind of the process that work plans go through and do a little bit of the kind of the back of the house thinking for us, so we can see how we usually see just our plan, so we can see how both she and Scott, the city manager, and Lisa, the assistant city manager, really look at how all of these work plans fit into the work plans that staff are developing as well. So MJ, I'll turn this over to you if you are still available.
I am. Are you able to allow me to share my screen?
Sure, go ahead.
Please.
Well, nope, you're going to need to, I think there's probably a setting that
I have to allow you, oh, you needed to tell me this in advance. I had a perfect meeting
That's
going.
okay. No worries. No, you guys are doing fabulous. So I am just going to give you a little
Excuse me, if I just do share content, can you grab it from there? Or is that just me sharing content?
If you go to the participants, you should be able to click on my name and make me like a presenter or.
Oh, I have to upgrade you. All right, let me see if I can do that.
Yeah, because I'm going to want to share my screen also for when we talk about public art, the virtual gallery as well. Okay, I'm going to start though while Susan's trying to figure it out, and you won't be able to see my slides. I'll give you some verbal information. This is just a little bit grounding. We're doing this for action because as you, am I muted?
You're good.
Okay.
I think I got this. Push the presenter to yes, you're in.
Oh, perfect.
You've been given privileges.
Perfect. So I think what happens is you guys get your work plan back and you're really focused on that individual work plan, not really given a lot of information about how this all comes together. I think that yours pretty much stands as it was received as proposed. But let me give you this information. So there are 3 strategic documents that guide our work. And then from those 3 documents, we actually create our budget work plan, which is a 2-year work plan. From there, that kind of rolls down into our department work plans and also what's highlighted in yellow, the commission work plans, which are annual. And then us as employees, we also have an individual work plan as well. And so basically these work plans are different depending on the year, who approves it, and who is accountable for it. So the 2-year work plan is actually done on 2 years. City council approves that, and city manager is the person who's accountable for it. For you guys, your commission work plan is done annually, and city council again approves that, and that you are really the commission accountable to completing that work. For us as departments, those are approved by the city manager, and it's our department directors that are responsible, and then of course our individual, we're responsible for those work plans. So as we look at all the different initiatives and all the different ideas that come forth through the work plans, we have to weigh in a lot of different components because one work plan can shift another work plan that can shift another. So that's why when we bring them all together, we have to kind of think about, do we have the resources? Is this a priority? Does it fall in line with our city budget goals, which we do have 4 of them? And I wanted to share those with you in case you guys were not aware. So those are all the different things that we weigh in. So we have 4 of those city budget goals. All my work really lives underneath the Better Together, the Fostering Inclusive and Engaged Community, which has to do with all of you guys as boards and commissions. But those initiatives that are there, those actually start and trickle down into all of those work plans that you saw in the earlier screen. I want you to know about these because I think that you're going to see these bubbling up to the commissions a little bit more in the next year. We have a new sustainability coordinator. Her name is Grace Hancock. And then we also have Heidi Lee, who is our race and equity coordinator, and then myself as the community engagement coordinator. And this year we're going to work on an initiative to talk more about how we can bring those 3 together with a triple bottom line. And I think this is something that not only will we roll out citywide for us as staff to be a guide and framework, but also to our commissions. In the winter, we had a retreat with council, and they did vet and not approve, but affirm 3 value statements around each of these topics. And these are summaries of them. The full value statement is actually on our website. So I would encourage you to check those out and just watch for more information coming in. Hopefully, I don't know, end of 2021, maybe beginning of 2022 on these 3. This is the work plan calendar. So you guys already just went through this process where basically you just got your approved work plan. You're going to begin your work now, or really technically it starts in January. We'll start this whole process all over again in the summer where you'll propose, chair brings it to the council, it goes to staff, we make recommendations, and then it finally gets approved. So keep in mind this process already is like a 6-month process. And so it becomes very challenging when we're trying to do all the work plans that there's not a lot of time to be able to go to do some more of that back and forth. So we try to be really good at the upfront getting information to you and to council. So far, we feel like it's working pretty good. So these didn't totally impact your work plan much this year, but these were the themes that came out, which kind of led us into doing some alterations or amending some work plan initiatives. We try to be more clear with our cross-commission committees. We know that in the past, you guys have served on a few that it just got a little bit complicated, and it was another time commitment. Again, we talk about that alignment with our city goals and the resources we have, making sure that all roles are clear. Is it a staff role? Is it a council role? Or is it a commission role? And the number of events. So obviously we looked at your guys' number of events, and that was something that was in consideration as well. We find that a lot of commissions want to do events, and that we find that we start competing against each other in addition to like all of the public meetings that we already hold. And so we definitely have to always have events that we have. So that's just the background, some grounding. And I think Susan probably has your 2021 work plan so that you guys can start talking about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I'm going to stick around until Lindsay and Shreya do theirs. You know, we
or if they could do it.
We haven't talked about it. Would you, Russ, would you mind if we just change the order of the agenda a little bit and work on the work plan item for 2020, which is our Mosaic collaboration, and then we can come back and do the rest after MJ has a chance to chat?
Hannah, is your question, to that? Go off mute.
I was just curious, MJ, how what you're speaking about fits in with the comprehensive plan?
So the comprehensive plan is writing documents along with our capital plan and then our vision Edina. So we use those. So when we're creating our plans, we're not going to create projects or initiatives that are going to contradict those high level visions. Those are what guide us so that we can create objectives and strategies to hopefully actually achieve those goals that are in those big documents.
Okay, thank you.
And I think that was a great question, since this, MJ, this was the first time the commission actually had a chapter or a section of that comprehensive plan. So really good question. Well, Russ, would you like to move us to the reports and recommendations, letter D? Oh, maybe it's C. Maybe we start with that.
Yeah.
C and D.
Okay, and basically we turn it over to Lindsay and to Shreya. Yep. These are largely combined C and D. So if you guys would just update us with where you are and report on the status.
That'd be great.
Shreya, do you want me to start and you then chime in with?
Yeah.
We have a great update in that we met with MJ and Susan, and MJ was extremely helpful in getting the ball rolling with the virtual gallery being hosted on bettertogetheredina.org, which is fantastic. So that's
the big announcement.
It's huge. So that they were able to just get through a lot of the roadblocks, and it carved a really smooth path for Mosaic students moving forward, which is really exciting. So Shreya and I have been working with the students, updating them, and we've worked together with Susan and MJ on what that looks like and that kind of organization, and making sure it'll still be very much Mosaic student-led, which is exciting. The update on my end too is I've been in communication with Dick Crockett, who is still very much in support of the project. He has agreed to earmark funds for this project when we do need them, if it's for the podcast that will incur costs, things like that. And Shreya and I are actively working on building a submissions committee, and Dick has agreed to be on that and is very much looking forward to that. So
that's great.
So yeah, things are all really looking good moving forward. So Shreya, I will pass the baton to you and update on your end.
Yeah, I feel like that was good for the most part. We're keeping Mr. Protaski, who is the advisor for the Mosaic Club, in the loop. So he knows everything that's going on, and we have committees for each of the Mosaic students to focus on certain areas, and we are they're working on some tasks right now, and we're probably going to meet with them next week or over break to get status on the tasks. But yeah, other than that, was there anything else you wanted me to say, Lindsay?
Sorry, I just remembered one more thing in that Rebecca had a great idea last meeting about using the reactivity boxes with the theme of From Struggling to Healing. And so Rebecca has agreed, thank you, Rebecca, to help us with that and kind of take the lead on how that might work and how we can use it for both communications, but really for content too, and creating some great artwork that could be submitted for the virtual gallery. So.
And I will say that I had a exchange with Lauren. She would love to be involved in this project. So let's bring her into that as well.
Yes.
So we haven't started that, the part of the project that I think Lauren and Tiffany, we want you to be involved in the submission committee, and we're still trying to figure out other people who are going to be on that submission committee. So it's a lot of stuff going on right now, but know that we do have that place for you.
Yeah, and I think for Lauren and Tiffany specifically, from the commission side of things, since we're the organizers of the submissions and the intake and all that, is we could really use help with process for that and helping us stay organized and on task and that type of thing. So I think that could be a really great role for the two of you.
Yeah, I was also interested in working on the reactivity boxes side of it too. So I'm open to anything.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah, you can hook up with Rebecca.
Lauren, I look forward to collaborating with you and Lindsay and Shreya. So I'll reach out to you after the call, and obviously with Susan and talking to Parks and Rec to get on the same page.
Yep, that sounds great.
Can I ask, what do you think the end result is going to look like?
Of what?
Of the gallery or of the?
Yeah, the whole project. What will people see? What will people be exposed to? What will they see? What will it look like to?
MJ, does this cue you up?
Yeah, cues me up.
MJ, this is all for you.
So before I leave, I want to throw something out. Lindsay, Shreya, the money from the community foundation, if you guys do the reactivity boxes, considering maybe them paying for some of those, so families that don't have money to actually
That's a great idea.
get supplies for doing the art to submit, that maybe there is a way that we can remove that barrier. So
that's a great idea. Thank you. I'll write it down.
All right, so I'm actually going to share a mock-up of a page that we built.
Oh, great.
I will tell you that Caitlin Galt, our communications coordinator, who also is the Parks and Recreation point person from communications, has worked super hard on this. So this is a mock-up, so some of the content is not real content, and some of it is because we did get a little bit from Shreya and Lindsay. So it's just kind of trying to show you, here's the plethora of different things that we can do here. So she put this together where basically talks about it, places to submit your artwork. You guys, when you go into these, the reason they say the same is because she took a couple different tools to see, so that you could kind of test out to see what you liked better than one tool over another tool. I will tell you, as we were kind of doing this, we feel like there's probably going to be some things that won't be exactly what we want to do. I think with every software that there's always going to be some limitations. However, there typically are good workarounds. And Caitlin is super good with the system, so she definitely can problem solve. But up here, this obviously is some quick links. This is a timeline that talks about what's happening, next steps. There are places that videos can go in and photos. Down here, we have information. These are all what we refer to as kind of like news feed These are the different articles or updates. And so I think we had received some information through these about the 3-year plan, letting people know how we got here, Mosaic, the partnership that's happening. And then when you guys go into these, if you just click on these different links, it's going to actually show you kind of what it looks like when you pop in here. So there's a call for art, and there's a place for a person to complete a form and actually submit that information. And so I think this might be the form option. This one I'm going to have to look at to see. This one is what we call ideas. And so these different boxes are submissions, and there's, she obviously put like, this is a photography submission, this is the visual art gallery, this is the performative art gallery. Over here, I think is a different tool that she was testing out as well, which I think is going to be one of the forums. So she was just putting in text so that you could kind of see what it looks like. So I think at this point, what we would ask is that the Lindsay and Shreya and the Mosaic group, that I provide a link of this, and you guys start digging in and talking about different things you think would work well or what you want to try. And then from there, sending that back to communications and myself. And then we probably will set up a quick check-in point with communications and myself with the Mosaic and Lindsay and whoever else is part of that. So
this looks fantastic, MJ. Thank you so much for your work, and Caitlin's work. It really looks
great. If you
this is
as a
amazing. Yeah, thank you.
No problem. If you guys as a commission have feedback, send that to Lindsay so that we can just at one time kind of get it all together so that we can do this. But because it's done in-house, way easier, no money associated. We have the staff who supports it, and we can launch this.
Yes.
When you guys are ready.
Thanks, MJ. I was going to just say, let's step back, because this is the first some people have heard that this is the vehicle we're using. Step back and give the advantages to doing that. You just started to list them, but there's also marketing advantages. There's also interactive possibilities. You want to talk a little bit about why this really is a good vehicle?
Yeah, and so it's not that building a website's a bad idea. It's just that someone has to maintain it, and there's a cost associated with keeping it up. And we try to steer clear from moving away from any of the platforms we already have. And because we have this engagement platform, it kind of made sense. And we want public art to live on in the city. And so by keeping it at part of our already current websites, at any given point, we can kind of move this site up and down depending on what the different things the commission decides to do with it. But again, yes, it's already covered on the costs. A lot of us are users of it, and you have a communications staff person who's well versed in it, who actually supports the Parks and Recreation Department, and she's good. Like, I look at her pages. Her pages are better than my pages. And then we always have it too. Like, it stays with the city, because like those third-party sites, if they go down, do we lose the data? Do we lose what our history was? And so that's kind of some of the benefits.
Yeah, it even strikes me as it has some parallels with our public art sculptures, because again, when they fell down, what were we going to do with them? We didn't have a plan. We didn't have money allocated for it. This way, we've already kind of looked beyond the immediacy of it to say, this will be part of the record of what arts and culture does in the city, and what we're reflecting at this time in our history.
This is remarkable, MJ. Thanks to you and Caitlin for what you're doing. I see your hand. If I could just raise one point. What can we do to drive people to this? What can we do to bring people's attention to it? How can we cross-pollinate with other organizations in the city or outside the city? Because this is great. We need people to see it and feel it and sense it.
So we got to bring that back to Lindsay and Shreya and that group to talk about a strategy around it, because we have done, Parks and Rec tried to do a bright lights event on Better Together, where people did submissions, and it didn't get a lot of action. And so I think that you guys should think about a strategy. We'll do our normal stuff that we do as a city, but there's something about those personal asks or those connections and finding those partners that will be more impactful to driving people to the site.
And we have a whole Mosaic has a whole committee working on that specifically, and they've started contacting art teachers around the community, different student organizations. From their perspective, Shreya and I are working on a more expansive PR plan as well throughout the city. And I think we're in good hands.
Perfect.
There's many good outlets within the school itself, like Zephyrus, the school newspaper, and some outlets like that that'll be really good and helpful, especially to reach out to students. So
yeah, I mean, next door, I mean, we don't really have an official relationship with them, but that permeates the city. Whatever we can do to really blast this thing out is to everybody's advantage because it's so good.
Can I just say one thing too, as I know MJ and I connected a little bit when I did the Seeds of Change. I'd just like to reiterate that the communications team for the city has a terrific, PR machine where they can get the news of an RFP to the community quickly through various media outlets without incurring an expense. Because I did notice that was one of our line items, was a pretty hefty budget item for PR and a newswire. And MJ, you can sort of talk to this, but I think if we're collaborating in a way that I think we are, I would think we'd want to work with the city communications team and get this out through their channels.
Yep. I think what we would do is create it, and then we would ask that you just take that information and push that to any of the partners or other individuals. There's small costs though that can be impactful, like doing a Facebook push, where it's not very much, but it will help. And we could consider an ad if you want. Those get a little bit more expensive. We'll do all of our normal stuff that Rebecca talked about.
Hannah, do you want to say something?
I was just wondering, MJ, this looks fantastic. Thank you. It's really great to see this actually coming to fruition. I was curious if there's any criteria or exclusions. Does someone there at the city need to approve the artwork after Lindsay and Shreya's submission team looks at and approves things? Is there another level, or can it be published through Lindsay and Shreya, or does it need to go? Are there other levels of approvals?
We do have the ability to set it up for like a Lindsay to approve something. That would be up to Lindsay if she really wants to learn the system, which we can easily do. But we wouldn't need to moderate at a second level. You might just be like the send it through type of thing. But just so you know, the site is moderated though too. So like if there was like profanity, something of that nature, just so you know, the site itself would catch it and would pull it down. That's the same for like Facebook or any other third-party software, is that they obviously have some terms around the usage of the page as well.
Right, but if the artwork has some profanity or imagery, I mean, is the city, do they have criteria in which they won't post it?
We do have a social media policy which would apply to this, so I can pull that up. Lindsay, maybe you guys will want to work that into your submission.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
You could email.
Susan, can you remind me?
Great.
Russ, Susan, MJ, this is Susan Chandler. Thank you so much for all of your work on this project. And it is super exciting to see. And it really responds to the discussion that we had at our last meeting about wanting to have the city's involvement and input on this. So super thrilled to see how this has come together. And thank you and your colleagues for helping with all of that. I don't know if we're turning to talk about the submission, the proposed submission wording itself, but I had a couple of questions on that. So Russ and Susan, let me know when we're talking about that.
I think we can do that as part of this conversation.
Absolutely.
Do you guys need anything else from me? Like, are there any other questions about the site or the usage of it, or do you think everyone understands the next steps, and Lindsay and Trey are going to keep you updated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a huge
Well,
thanks, MJ.
Yep.
Thanks so much for all your help.
MJ, when you first came to the commission and said, here it is, Better Together, we had no idea that we'd be using it for this. So thank you.
No problem. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, Susan, what's your question?
I'm just looking at the proposed call for entry, and it's a little unclear to me as I read it whether this is a juried process or not. And so if it's unclear to me, I'm thinking it may be unclear to potential artists who are interested in this. Are we selecting or are we accepting?
There is a selection process that will go through the submissions committee following the HRC rubric to start. So I hear your point, Susan. So what would you suggest putting in? Do you have something?
You know, I think saying something like criteria that will be used as we review the submissions are, and then include a few criteria. And even if they're not, you know, super specific, it at least lets people know that these are the kinds of things that we're kind of thinking about, and that there will be a panel or whatever who will be reviewing.
Sure.
The other thing I was just thinking is that this is so great to see this website, and it doesn't express in that call for entry how long we expect this to be up. You know, I mean, if somebody's thinking, well, is this going to be like for a month, or is this going to be for 6 months, or how long is this virtual art exhibition going to be posted? We might want to encourage, it might be encouraging to people to let them know, you know, that this is going to be posted for however long we think it might be. And if we don't know specifically, again, to say, you know, this project we expect to, you know, live on, you know, to start here and live on until this point or something, just to give a little bit more context for artists, and I would think encouragement.
Yeah, I don't know the specific answer to that. So, so I think we'd have to keep it vague, but using terms like ongoing or something like that.
Yeah, even that I think is really great. I mean, so it's not just like a 4-week thing and then it's pulled down. It's, you know, to give them that sort of impression, I think would be good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we might also need to communicate the idea of us constantly taking submissions. So,
would you say it again? I didn't understand what you said. Would you say it once more, Shreya? I didn't hear that.
Well, I just said, like, I think we might need to convey the idea of us taking submissions, not just being like a one-time thing, because that was something that was kind of unclear. I know to some people last time too. So
does that mean that
saying something like ongoing would clarify that? How would you suggest we clarify that? Because
I would suggest something like that every 2 months we'll be requesting new submissions, as opposed to ongoing, because the people then don't really understand how it works. So if you could say we'll be putting out another call on March 1 and then a follow-up, another call on June 1.
I think that would be really hard to do, Russ. I mean, I think it's hard for Lindsay and Shreya for Mosaic to do that. I think it might be easier in the process to be a bit more ambiguous, sorry, and just be able to leave it a little more open so that they're not. Like,
well, yeah, no, I get it. I know that when you send out an RSVP and you leave it open-ended, you sometimes don't hear back. But if you give somebody a date that they operate against, you get better compliance.
How is we're transparent about our submissions process, our selection process, to just say, you know, submissions committee will be meeting once a month to go over ongoing submissions, something like that.
Something that, you know, encourages people to act on a timely basis.
I don't want to I hear what you're both saying, and I agree with Hannah in that sending out a call for submissions every 2 months might be confusing to people. But I hear what you're saying, Russ, is I know I respond very well to deadlines. So if someone gives me, so I think that if we just say like, we'll be meeting every fourth Thursday, which it probably would not be that, but to go for then something like that.
Hi, can I just ask a question? How many, Lindsay and Shreya, how many pieces of art are you thinking, or submissions are you sort of thinking you'd like to see in all of this? And part of me almost wants this to be so kind of populated with all sorts of genres and expressions. I almost cringe a little bit at this idea of a jury and submission. When you're talking about from struggle to healing or struggling to healing, I almost want this to be, it reminds me of at some of the schools, they're doing Black at Breck or Black at Blake. And it's like on Instagram, it's kind of like open. Every single person can kind of put their expression out there. And it allows people to just find the process healing as well. Like, I'm not going to be judged for this. I can just put this out there. And so there's a part of me that wonders, like with an art, a call for art, we're not giving a prize out to anyone. They're not winning money or anything. We're looking for people to find a way to heal through this pandemic. We want to make this like an art contest. I don't know. I'm just sort of, there's a part of me that's a little like, how much of that is that cemented? Is that like a sort of set thing? Or are you open to kind of exploring this idea of it being just a place for people to go to look at art from all sorts of voices, all perspectives, youth, adults, seniors, just looking at sort of how to make it more democratic.
It isn't an art contest. I think maybe that's something we should have conveyed. The only reason we actually are including a submission, like any type of this process, is first of all, I know the city has guidelines, and then there's like basic guidelines we have maybe about, which we will craft, but it's probably going to be very basic things about like profanity or like some expectations of what the art is. We do want like very basic expectations, but the main thing that I think the submission will also be doing is, I guess it depends on how much art we have incoming, but the way that I view the submission committee is like them putting together collections and crafting the collections and figuring out which art pieces will go together. I mean, the whole point of this project was to make sure that we are including diverse perspectives and making sure that we are reflecting opinions from across their community through healing and from struggling to healing. That's the whole intention. Is someone
you just made me think of something with that when you said putting certain things together. In many ways, as you take submissions and you curate, you're able to create a story. And that in itself, I think, is a good reason for submission, less a competitive thing, but being able to craft a storyline through all this, I think, is a really good result of submission.
Thank you, Susan. I think that's
nature in this. Like, it's not a
contest. There's no competition.
I think you have to be careful with this idea of a jury and, putting together.
I wouldn't call it a jury. I'm just putting it out there in case, there are people in the community that go, oh, it's okay, this is going to go before this jury. And, we want to obviously encourage everyone to come in and put their content out there. And obviously, I love the idea of you curating this in a way that fits the theme. But I think that, I guess just the language, maybe, I don't know, something about like Dick Crockett, and I know Dick and the art that he's curated for the city. And I just sort of feel like, I don't know, I think it's one thing if it's like obviously Mosaic through the lens of Mosaic, but then I think if you're kind of picking people to be on a jury, I don't know, that process, I just wanted to sort of understand that a little bit more. I'd like to speak to that because, the whole purpose of this project itself, the reason that I wanted to do this in the first place was because as a person of color in Edina, I have never really felt represented. I've never had a platform like this to share my voices openly. And I've not like, I've definitely had experiences and opportunities that have allowed me to do that. But something like this is being done with the idea of giving people the opportunity to have an accessible platform. That is the core of what this project is. That's why I'm doing this. Like, I hope that's getting across. Like, I'm very glad that you're bringing this issue up, but it's not a jury. It's actually people who reflect the diversity of Edina, who want to make sure that the art that is going into this gallery is also reflecting the diversity by putting together an image that reflects that diversity. We also don't want, suppose there's a submission that has hateful language and rhetoric in it. I'm not going to put that up on the gallery. That's not happening. So there are basic guidelines and basic things I want to be guaranteed, because I know how Edina works and I know how much conflict there has been in the past with things like this and movements like this, even if it's very, very open and welcoming and done with this idea of equity and accessibility. There have all through school and stuff, there have been issues that happen in Edina with this. So I want to make sure that there are commissioners from the Human Rights and Relations Commission. I want to make sure there are people of color who feel comfortable with the art that's going out on that gallery. I want to make sure that there are people from different minority communities that represent the diversity of Edina that are comfortable with it, what is going on that gallery, because we want to make sure that there's no hate represented in this. So like that would be probably the most basic thing that we are looking for in the submissions. We are not going to judge someone based on what we believe is a good piece of art. We are not. I have been like on the mic reuse in this commission. I've really loved the discussion we've had about expanding the definition of public art. And as a writer and as a musician, that is something that's really important to me too. So none of this is being done with the intention of making this less accessible. It's actually done with making sure that we are promoting and celebrating the diversity. Everyone who is on this quote unquote submission committee is going to be kids from Mosaic. And we all know the purpose of Mosaic is to create a welcoming school environment, or from HRRC and from this Arts Commission, with the purpose of making sure that we are putting out the best representation of Edina that we can put out there and making sure that it is diverse and welcoming. And I loved Susan's phrasing of how we're putting together this, we're making a story with the way we put it together too, right? I know MJ had collections based on like performance art and all these things, but we're probably not going to do that. We're probably going to do story night type, like story night stories. Like that's one of the stories collections that Mosaic usually does. And by curating those different collections, we're also trying to make an image. So I'd like to defend it in that capacity and say, this isn't a competition. This wasn't that wasn't my vision for this project at all. And know that I have that interest in mind because it's something that's personal to me.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for expressing all of that. And I just want to say, when I was bringing this up, it was because this was unclear to me what the intent was. You've expressed it really clearly, Shreya, and Rebecca, I completely agree with what you said about this not being, you know, a contest or anything like that. I think we just need to be clear so that anybody reviewing this document, whether we call it a call for entries, which even maybe that's not quite the right phrase to use, I'm not sure, because that is the kind of phraseology that is typically used when people are applying to be accepted into something. So I think we may want to review and think about revising that language so that it is reflective of what we want this to be. And my understanding of what this committee will do is that they're going to review and accept all of the submissions. And that may be a phrase you want to include, is review and accept, so that there's the understanding that the default is everything is welcome. And there may be some things, Shreya, as you mentioned, that simply fall outside of sort of decency guidelines that HRRC or others may express, but otherwise we are reviewing and accepting.
But I think you have
what
to
the community brings in.
Susan, I appreciate that, but again, I think you have to be really careful. And to Shreya's comment, HRC rubric, there is that decency.
Thank you, Hannah,
decency.
for mentioning
Then
that.
I'm sorry that I used the wrong phrase. Whatever it was that Shreya said before, but because you did say something about profanity, right?
Yeah, well, profanity, and also making sure we're not putting any hateful rhetoric out there. And
Okay.
I mean, the other thing is that HRC does, with the rubric, they are pretty specific guidelines about what's going on there. So, if we're getting, we just need to be careful about that, because I would in no way want to stop putting any art out there, but like there are still regulations that we will have to follow because of HRC's rubric, because of, you know, whatever the city's guidelines are. I'm not sure exactly, and just making sure that what we're doing there is a good reflection of, you know, who we are as a city and what we want to represent. So I completely agree with your idea of maybe like phrasing things differently, because I think that could really help with the understanding of the project and the project's goals itself. But then I also don't want people to expect that 100% that their art is getting out there and then have that cause problems, right? So, I mean, I think there's some type of medium, some type of happy medium that we need to think of in that phrasing.
Okay, so what are we asking Lindsay and Shreya to do? To revisit the submission, rephrase it?
Yeah, I mean, is it possible to, is the rubric someplace online at Better Together? I mean, maybe toss people over there.
Yeah.
You can just
You
do
mean
it.
the HRC rubric?
Yeah.
It's in your packet.
No, I'm saying it on Better Together.
So that they could use it. Yep.
So you just have an active link and you link it over there, and somebody has questions.
That's a good idea.
That way you're staying away from all that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point, Hannah.
Okay. Lindsay and Shreya, you got enough input?
I think so. Thank you.
So as Susan Chandler also made me think of maybe the word invitation as opposed to call.
Right.
So technically, let me be my liaison hat. Technically, this was on the agenda as a vote. So I would probably want someone to suggest that we table a vote on this until we see further language.
I get that. I'm just worried about the timing.
Right.
We like this to go live before
Right.
January.
Yeah, I say we vote on it and we let them have the language that they need to have.
Yeah. So
we've made our suggestions. Let's just vote on it.
So somebody state what the motion would be.
I state the motion as we are accepting the submission plan with Shreya and Lindsay and Mosaic having the opportunity to modify the language.
Susan T, does that meet?
Just a little suggestion, modify the language according to the recommendations by commissioners that we just heard. Okay.
Okay.
Let me reread this.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor to accept the submission plan as presented with, what was the word? With.
Susan, how about this?
Try something, Steve. I'm missing a word there.
The commission congratulates the working group on the submission plan and accepts its proposal. Period. The commission, encourages the group to consider the conversation to make sure the website is realized with all the intention as discussed, or something like that. Okay. I do really wish to congratulate you guys on pulling this together. It's fantastic.
Thank you, Steve. That's very nice.
Thank you.
Okay, I will minute the congratulations, but I won't make that part of the motion, if that's okay.
Okay,
So
you've never given the key to the city either, have you, Susan? So anyway.
You never asked, Steve, honestly. Okay, so I think the language there that Steve came up with was to accept the plan as presented with the opportunities to revise and according to
we encourage the group
Okay.
to consider the conversation and roll out the submission.
Okay, thank you. I think Chair Ruben, we can call for a vote on that, or call for a second. We need.
Yeah.
Second, Chandler.
Okay, thank you. Any additional comments prior to a vote?
You know what? I lost track of who actually did the first motion. That was.
We'll give it to Steve.
Steve.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Steve and Chandler.
I'll take my city key as well then.
All right.
There you go.
It's in the mail, Steve. It's in the mail.
Yeah. It's a digital password now.
Can I just say one thing? I just want to congratulate Lindsay and Shreya for having done a fabulous job and to make this a reality. And just you guys have just hit it out of the park, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. But look at who I get to work. Like Shreya is the ultimate leader in this. So
Thank you so much.
Well, and I would like to add that I appreciate so much the passion for this project. I think Shreya, you in particular, Lindsay as well, Hannah and Michelle, as they started working on public art, have really brought that passion to the commission as we think about these things. And boy, that's the thing we can do as arts and culture that sometimes don't happen in other places. Right. So thank you for that.
Terrific. Liaison Tarnowski, would you call the roll, please, on that?
I will do motion? That. I will do that. Commissioner Chandler.
Aye.
Commissioner DiLorenzo.
Aye.
Commissioner Isaacs.
Aye.
Commissioner Klein.
Aye.
Commissioner Konkamala.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin. Not present. Commissioner Morgan Nelson. Not present. Commissioner Piela.
Aye.
Commissioner Rubin.
Aye.
Commissioner Shen. Not present. Commissioner Swanson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Suko. Thank you all.
Passes. Very good. Terrific. Okay, Susan, what else do we need to cover? I would like to just make sure we review the work plan for 2021 as accepted. We don't need to take any action at this time, but it's probably worth reviewing for everyone.
Sure. Actually, when we spoke about it at the last meeting, it did not change a lot. It did not change from that, but let's walk it through. So our first initiative is to implement at least one event in year one, which is now 2021. Correct. Of the Edina Public Art Plan, Art and Healing Virtual Art Galleries. So that is where we're starting, and that was the first initiative for us. What the recommendation was is that we would go to initiative number 2, because we were going to create some evaluative work, and we would do an evaluation of the public art event in initiative 1 to inform as we decide on our second public art event, if we do a second one next year. So they just wanted to make sure that it was an initiative, an evaluation that informs the next initiative or the next event in our first initiative. And I think that's completely acceptable. Just a reminder that we had Shreya and Lindsay on initiative 1, Heather and Russ on initiative 2. Initiative 3 was study and report on possible incentives or procedures to include art decor elements when opportunities arise in public and commercial projects. And we will deliver a report to City Council on that. Our conversation was, should it go to Planning Commission? And this makes more sense since we are advisory to Council. And Rebecca and Russ are point on that. And Initiative 4, as a new art space is pursued, the commission will provide community perspective to the planning process. The city staff will define a role for the commission when the time approaches. And Steve and Susan jumped on that and said, we're going to get there. So that is what our 2021 plan looks like at this point.
Great.
Questions or comments?
We'll need to make sure we're actually moving on these. The number 2, 3, and 4. Number 1 is definitely in process. If we can make sure that our next meeting, that this is a point of conversation on 2, 3, and 4, that would be great.
Okay, so maybe we'll talk a little offline and see how you'd like to approach that.
Right. There was a parking lot topic too, which was the inventory, maintenance. Has that made it onto anybody's work plan for next year?
I think it will be on mine.
And do we get the chance to see your?
Sure, absolutely. I did take a walk on the promenade before it got really cold and walked a direction that I rarely get to, all the way over to the bridge over, is it York? That has the mosaics of bicycles on the pillars and so on. So I had a chance to see some things that maybe I've only seen once before. So that was a good thing for me to do as my starting point. So yes, you will absolutely see what I'm doing on this.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Russ, when you were talking about the art center? Before we're even asked to do something, can we get some budgetary numbers to see?
Yeah, I was going to raise that for you, Hannah. Yep. Yeah, the question really becomes, what do we have this year that's not spent? What do we have? What can we do next year? And is there some way we can formalize our tracking of our budget each year so we can just visualize where we stand?
I can report out on that on a regular basis. Let's put that on as a agenda topic.
Yeah, that would be
say
great.
This with COVID this year, we didn't spend very much at all.
Right.
So, and this is not a carryover budget. So in the new city budget, $20,000 has been put on the line item for public art and I believe music in Edina. So the 20,000 is there. Again, it's not ours. It's been allocated to that work. But that's what we'll have to work with as we consider 2021.
Terrific.
Thank you. I guess I'm also curious about the art center on a larger sort of purview. And Susan Chandler has brought this up and just trying to figure out, are we in the comprehensive plan and elsewhere, we're asked about the art center. Should it be a 501c3? Could it be self-sustaining? What are different ways to do this? So I just think before we even look at 4, I mean, I'm assuming that Park and Rec is looking at really what the needs are of this community before there's a discussion about creating or building or funding an art center. But I'm just looking at also the finances behind it. What has it been? Have we been profitable? How have we been profitable? Is it through ceramics? Is it through other means? I mean, maybe it's looking at art center compared to the rec center, compared to the senior center. I mean, I just think for us to spend time and energy looking at an art center, there needs to be a financial reason or benefit analysis, as well as looking at the art center as, is this what the community needs and what exactly does the community want and need?
Yeah, I mean, part of it now is that it seems to be moving more towards the staff responsibility than the commission responsibility. That doesn't make us abdicate our role and our responsibility, but it's something that I don't know if I felt we were driving more of it 2 years ago than we are today. I also want to point out, I don't know if anybody noticed that Frauenschuh has come back on the Grandview site and is proposing senior apartments and some other things, but no city facility on the ground. which, it's hard. I mean, it's such a moving target for us to know where this is all going and what the consideration is. And then with all these new city council members, where they stand, their knowledge and their historical knowledge of the past conversations is limited.
But it would be good to know today, and I believe Susan alluded to this, that she and Tracy, or that Tracy was looking at, what actually does the community want?
Yeah.
I mean, what do they want? Do they want an art center? Or do they want a family center? Or do they just want more park and rec and senior things? So, I mean, I just think it's still in the initiative. Maybe it should be removed from the initiative. So it's one less thing we're actually.
Well, yeah, I think we're abdicating our responsibility. We don't have it somewhere physically in our work plan.
Okay.
To me, then it gives whomever the permission to ignore our point of view.
Okay, so could I make a request that we find out from Susan and Tracy what has been done?
Yeah.
In sort of getting a focus group together, or finding out what does the community,
what the steps are,
and what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that offline.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Hannah.
Cool. All right, so that's our work to do for next year formally. We can always work on things informally, but our formal responsibility is in those 4 steps in the work plan. The approved meeting calendar, Susan T., do we need to do anything in regard to that other than just?
Nope, this is an information only piece.
Correct.
We've had some conversations in the past about participating as attendees at other commission meetings. So I think it was good to have all of these listed to be able to do that if anyone so wishes.
Right. Perfect. Okay. We've covered C and D. E, is anybody, do we need to comment on the rubric as presented to us?
Again, that was for information only.
Right.
That would help to inform the previous 2 agenda items.
Has anybody seen the rubric come into effect? Any of the work being done or any of the conversations taking place in the city?
I will say that Heidi and I met last week to discuss how we begin to use that around the city. We talked about the mayor's conference room. We talked about the fact that Crossed on Camera puts exhibits into the community room upstairs. So we've begun to determine where we can have the best impact for this. But one conversation.
Right. It'll be interesting to see how this impacts the city and our activities. Okay, Susan, anything that you want to report back on your activities, how things are going for your programs and activities and anything else?
Well, of course, you know from last time that the governor's guidance did not allow us to have our in-person things for the rest of this year. So we created, out of one of our workshops, we created a Rectivity box, and those have been on sale, ornaments that people can make, mostly children's kind of projects. And we have an entire winter schedule out of workshops and short classes. Again, with the governor's comments this week, it does not change anything that we are doing in terms of art delivery. So we will see what happens after the holiday season and into the new year, and see whether we are able to meet in person for those, or whether we turn those into some other kinds of events. I think the Senior Center has done a very successful drive-through. It wasn't making anything, but they drove through with poinsettias and other kinds of things. We had a very successful Halloween one where we handed out kits, little monster kits that they could put together with all sorts of arts things. So there may be some ideas for us if we are not able to meet in person. We also have an entire spring and summer, including all sorts of kids camps set and being made into our activities directory, with the hopes that by that stage, we will be able to run some things a little bit more normal in the way they look. And we have now begun to talk about pre-recorded instructions that might go out with kits of art supplies. So if people were to purchase the kit, they would also be able to go to a YouTube video and purchase instruction. So asynchronous rather than synchronous, but I think that's a good way to start.
Great. Any comments for Susan on any of that?
Could we congratulate Rebecca and
I was,
yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, Rebecca, you were in the Sun Current today. Yeah. Congratulations.
And the Black Student Union, thank you. I didn't see that, but that's exciting. We've been getting a lot of press lately, so it was an honor to be a part of it.
Yeah,
the city, and I know that this healing, struggling to healing is going to kind of bring it to the next level, and very excited for this all to happen. I feel like the city's in a really good place for having these hard conversations. And so anyway, it was an honor to receive that award, and to be a part of the effort.
There it is from today. Yeah. Yeah. Rebecca, how did you get so much press on all this? What was the secret?
You know, there was no secret. It was, I guess, well, that's why I'm just saying, you know, part of it was, I think it's good to collaborate with the city. We, you know, had a press release that went out through the city, and I think that got the public art on a lot of people's radar. And I just think that the story itself took off and struck a chord with a lot of people. I will say that the time when there was, this wasn't just sort of like an easy kind of win for everybody involved. This was a struggle. And one of the best things that happened was the Black Student Union wrote letters on Nextdoor, actually asking for the city to send letters of support to the mayor's office, because we had to really go to bat for the show to stay up. We definitely had some criticism that came through. You know, we talked about that over the summer. So I think that the public engagement part also made this kind of take off. Even just the fact that we were getting some kickback from people in the community, that also was sort of part of the process. And I think that, you know, the letters, the 6 or so letters that were super negative that went in, that made the mayor a little bit nervous, were then sort of like flooded with a couple hundred letters of support. Yeah. And so it just kind of built from there. So, you know, that's why just the community piece is so important, and having as many layers as you can involved with these public art projects. And I think that, like, I just got a call from Edina magazine. They're going to do a story on it. I have another feature coming up. So I have a list, and I'd love to, you know, Lindsay knows all the places, and of course Shreya and everyone will do the same thing. But the city is sort of really ripe for conversations, and you know, I think that it was very authentic to just having the student leadership involved, having our Minneapolis artist involved. There is a lot in the Edina community. We also opened it up to Minneapolis, so I think we were able to work with artists from both areas, and students. You know, there were young artists who were 7 up till, you know, 75-year-olds. So you know, it was just great to kind of be behind the scenes and push it all out there. And so.
Excellent. Two additional comments. Thank you. First of all, congratulations, and thank you for all of that. For those of you who are on Nextdoor or not on Nextdoor, about 10% of all comments on Nextdoor are heinous. They're racist. They're stupid. They're out of control. I don't know who these people are. I wish they would leave, but they're there. And I do think it helps create, if we can expose everybody to this kind of work, it helps create conversation, because it's in the conversation where the real value comes. So whatever we can do to push that. Secondly, I'm actually working on another organization where we're interested in making sure that Holocaust education doesn't slip away in this curriculum. And right now, the social studies curriculum is being planned for the next 10 years. And there are fora for making sure this stuff happens. And I don't know whether we have entree to social studies teachers in the Edina Public School, but this is stuff that they should really want to be participating in. And I don't know if any of you have that kind of access or not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure other people can speak to this, but I know school board members and I'm on the Ed Fund. I'm happy to, if anyone else wants to jump in, I don't know. But
yeah,
in terms of social studies teachers at like EHS, I'm part of another club that's trying to maybe plan to talk to them about curriculum in general. And I have like good contacts with a few social studies teachers. So if that's of interest or if there's any connection needed there, I'm very interested.
Russ, what about also having Susan contact Shannon?
Well, the thing is that's art.
Right.
And I don't know how much, I mean, obviously that makes sense, but is there a way to get it into curriculum where I think the conversation can be richer?
Well, if you're talking about elementary level, you can talk, that's when you can bridge.
Yeah.
You can bridge the curriculum, and Shannon would be the ideal person, and having Susan help you in that regard. When I did the work with the
Days of Remembrance.
Dave's, yeah. I mean, that teacher was amazing, and we've got 16 pieces of art if somebody wants to, fundraise and get them auctioned off. I mean, you got work right there.
Yeah, I mean, just be aware that in the state legislature, there are lobbyists, there are people working against stuff like that being included in curriculum.
Well, two things. Hannah, you've given me a good excuse to contact Shannon. I will certainly do that. And I appreciate the comment that if you're working with young children, there's a way to kind of approach life a little bit more holistically, life and learning. So that may be something that would be really interesting to do.
Great.
Oh, the other thing was maybe, Hannah, we revisit those Days of Remembrance art pieces and think about how we bring those to light again. I don't have an idea right now, but I like your continued focus on them.
They're great pieces, and maybe they could, bring money to the public art, to Shreya and Lindsay's, endeavor. Also, I was thinking with the reactivity boxes that are created, I think it's a great idea to have the Edina Community Foundation support those people who can't afford the boxes. But I think you could also charge more and have that money go someplace to Mosaic, running Mosaic or some other, fund that is keeping with this struggle and healing concept.
Great ideas, folks.
Thank you, Evan. Terrific. Anything else that folks want to discuss today? We have a few minutes. Otherwise, we can adjourn. Perfect.
Well, I feel like we made a quantum leap forward in our projects. Again, thanks to the people who've been doing this work. It's pretty exciting.
Very good. No, something to be really proud of.
Yep.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Right here.
Hannah, second.
I'll second.
Lindsay, second. Okay. Do you need to do a roll on this, Susan?
I do. Here we go. Commissioner Chandler.
She's signed off.
Okay. Commissioner DiLorenzo.
Aye.
Commissioner Isaacs.
Aye.
Commissioner Klein.
Yes.
Commissioner Kankamala,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin, not present. Morgan Nelson, not present. Commissioner Piella,
Aye.
Commissioner Rubin,
Aye.
Commissioner Shen, not present. Commissioner Sorensen,
Aye.
Commissioner Suko. Thank you.
Hey, everybody, have a happy, healthy holiday season, new year. We'll see you in 2021. Hopefully 2021 will be a whole lot better than 2020.
Yes. Thank you, Russ.
God willing.
Thank you to everybody.
Yours. Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Happy
See ya.
holidays.
Bye-bye.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Holidays.